Do you want to know how I lowered my A1c to 5.7% in just 30 days? I'm not a gatekeeper. I'll happily share because I just made some meaningful changes to my daily routine that you can make as well if you want to lower your A1c. And I'll be sharing exactly what I did, what changes I made. I'll share my blood sugars, I'll share my A1c, and I'll even share a maybe surprising thing I did not do to lower my A1c. I'm Christelle from Diabetes Strong, and I've been living with type 1 diabetes since 1997. I've had my A1c measured consistently since I was diagnosed, and it has varied quite a bit. In the beginning, my A1c would usually be around the 8.5 to 9%, not because I wasn't paying attention or not making an effort, but simply because I wasn't aware that it's generally recommended that healthy adults living with diabetes should keep their A1c at 7.5% or lower. One could say I lacked a little bit of diabetes education or knowledge back then, but once I knew, I started to manage my A1c a little tighter. And within the last about 10 years, I've aimed for an A1c of 6 to 6.5%. That goal has worked for me, it's worked for my medical team, so it's something I've been happy with. However, over the summer, I started to notice that my blood sugars were running higher than usual. I also noticed that they were fluctuating way more aggressively than I'm comfortable with. I wear a Dexcom CGM, a continuous glucose monitor, and that allows me to see my blood sugars 24/7. It also allows me to go back and see my historic blood sugar numbers. And when I did that, I could see that my estimated A1c was at 6.3%, and that my standard deviation, so that's how much my blood sugars fluctuate, was all the way up at 42. As you can see here, it doesn't say A1c anywhere in this report. It says GMI, Glucose Management Indicator. And that is simply the indication of what the A1c is going to be. I should mention that my GMI is usually a little overestimated compared to my actual A1c. Yes, I know that at 6.3% is actually right in that target I have of 6 to 6.5% A1c, but if I'm completely honest, I prefer to see a number closer to 6. So I decided to make some changes and get it down to 6 or lower and to reduce my standard deviation, so that's again how much my blood sugars are fluctuating. And I did just that, and I did it in just 30 days. I took my GMI down to 6% and I took my standard deviation down to 35. I then went and got my blood drawn at a lab and had my A1c measured, and when you look at that, it came back at 5.7%. And the thing is, I did not achieve this by adding more insulin or other diabetes drugs. I simply changed, or I should say tweaked, 5 things about my daily routine. And what might surprise some people is that I did not change how many carbohydrates I ate. I did change one thing about my diet though. You might find it a little surprising, but I'll let you in on all the details later on in this video. So let me share those 5 tweaks that I made to lower my A1c and reduce my fluctuations. Let's go. The first thing I did was focus on my evening routines, because after looking at my blood sugar reports, I realized that I was often running higher than I like after 6 p.m. Also, I was correcting those high blood sugars to get down into range before bedtime, which meant, unfortunately, that I had a lot of low blood sugars overnight. You can see it's higher here, and we have some low blood sugars as well. Those are those red dots down here. My solution to this was threefold. So I reduced my serving size for dinner. For the most part, I would try to have dinner before 7 p.m. And then finally, I reduced or eliminated evening snacking. I haven't eaten less overall the last month. I just moved some of that food that I was eating at night to either breakfast or lunch. Moving my meals and how much I'm eating to earlier in the day has clearly had a huge impact on my evening blood sugars. But honestly, I think that my evening snacking has probably made the biggest impact. The thing is with snacking, it often tends to become a little bit mindless. And I was probably snacking at night more out of habit than because I was actually hungry. Another evening routine I cut back on has been alcohol. Over the summer, I've gotten into the habit of enjoying a glass of wine after dinner. And while a glass of wine can be fine, and for some people it might work really well. For me, it just didn't. Cutting out that one glass of wine probably also made it easier for me to stop the evening snacking, as the snacking and the wine often went hand in hand. I haven't cut alcohol out completely, but it's no longer a daily thing. And I know the science behind why that has probably helped with my blood sugar management. Because studies have shown that just 30 days of cutting out alcohol can significantly improve insulin sensitivity. So there you go, an easy adjustment to help achieve a lower A1c. Then there's my exercise routine. I was injured most of the summer as I pulled my Achilles back in August. Of course, that doesn't mean that I couldn't exercise or do other stuff, but I must admit that I didn't, and my gym membership was really collecting dust. Anyone who knows me knows that I love to move, so that injury was heartbreaking. But you're gonna laugh, I actually injured myself during a exercise class, not just any exercise class. I injured myself during a step class. Yep, full-on 80-step class, running up and down a step. But okay, I'm going out on a tangent here. Let's get back to the things that I implemented this last month. I started out by going for a few long walks a week, and I'm still doing that. And then I went back to the gym. Remember what I said, I love to move, so for me, going to the gym is fun. If you don't like going to the gym, or if you're new, don't try to do as much as I do. It's probably going to be too much. But what I do is I go to the gym and I do resistance training 3 to 4 times a week. Most often it's 3 times. I do one cardio class. I do a Zumba class. It's great fun. I enjoy it. It makes me smile. Then I do a Pilates class. So that is strength and it's balance, it's core. And I still go for those long walks. So that's 5 times that I exercise a week and the long walks. For the last many years, I've been in the gym. I've exercised 6 days a week. So this is actually a little less than what I've done for a long time, but it's certainly way more than I did over the summer. You do not have to do as much as I do to improve your insulin sensitivity. So your insulin sensitivity is how effective your body is at utilizing the insulin that you either produce or that you inject. You can do less and achieve a lot. So if you're new to exercise or if you have limited time, you could start out by just going for walks. When you have time or you feel like it, you could add resistance training. So resistance training is any type of exercise where you put your muscles under tension. That could be with weights, that could be body weight. It can be resistant bands. There's a lot of options and you don't have to go to a gym. Okay, we're almost ready to talk about that one thing I changed about my diet. But first, remember how I said up front in this video that I looked at my blood sugar reports. I've been looking at my blood sugar reports and I've been doing a bit of high-level analysis to simply assess whether or not I needed to adjust my insulin while I was working on reducing my A1c and my fluctuations. And I do want to highlight the reducing the fluctuations again, because having a low A1c but blood sugars that fluctuate all over the place is not ideal either. I would love to have my fluctuations, so my standard deviation, all the way down at 30. I'm at 35, so I still have something to work on. So on a weekly basis, I would go in, I would look over my blood sugars, I would look over my fluctuations, and I would make a decision on whether or not I needed to adjust my insulin doses. So you might need to do this in collaboration with your medical team. I'm completely self-managed, so I do adjust my doses myself. I should add that if I need help in making a decision, I can always reach out to my endo and she'll weigh in. And what you might not expect is that the only major change that I made to my insulin dosage during those 30 days where I lowered my A1c and my standard deviation, the only change I made was that I lowered, not increased, I lowered my long-acting insulin dose. Yeah, so not more insulin, less insulin. So let's go back to that report. So again, these are 30-day averages, but you can kind of get an idea. These red dots are low blood sugars. I had way too many lows overnight. I would then treat those lows with glucose, which would make my blood sugar shoot up to a healthy level, which is what we want. But again, that increases the standard deviation, the variability. What you can see here for the last 30 days is that I managed to reduce those lows quite a bit. I don't mind my blood sugar reaching 70 milligrams per deciliter, but I do not want it to go lower than that. And then the final thing that I did to reduce my A1c and my fluctuations was to change one thing about my diet. And no, it was not how many carbohydrates I was eating. It was how much fat I was consuming. We all react a little bit different to different diets, and I just know from experience that my body does not react super well to a diet high in fat. And it makes my insulin sensitivity really suffer, making it harder to keep my blood sugars in range. Needless to say, I didn't do super well on a keto diet back when I tried that out. Mainly it was my snacking that was high in fat. I was eating a lot of nuts, I was eating a lot of nut bars, as well as cheese. I do love cheese. But cutting out my snacking really significantly reduced the amount of fat that I was consuming. Fat is, of course, still a part of my diet. It's just not as big of a part as it was over the summer. And that was the 5 things that I did to reduce my A1c and my blood sugar fluctuations in just 30 days. I'm really happy with these results, and I hope they can serve as an inspiration if you're looking to reduce your A1c. And maybe all of these aren't for you, but hopefully they can give you some inspiration to figure out what works for you and your lifestyle. Check out this video for more tips on how to improve your insulin sensitivity. That's making your body more effective at lowering your blood sugars. As always, if you like this video, please give it a like, comment below, and subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.